Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be something a little bit different. I'm going to be doing a collab with Valerie from the channel Art a la Carte. And this has been in the works for a little while now, so we're both really excited to share this with you. We're each making our own videos. So after you watch mine, you should definitely go and check hers out, and I will have it linked somewhere on the screen here or here. I can never really remember which side it's on when I'm filming, but it will be up there. Anyway, when we were talking about what kind of video we wanted to make, we both agreed that one of the most common questions that we get is about style, and asking about like how we developed our style and how to develop your own style and how important style is. And since Valerie and I each have like styles that are pretty different from one another, as all artists do, we decided that this would be a great topic. And what we're going to do is we're both going to be drawing the same thing using the same reference photo, and we're going to approach it in the way that we would each approach it with our own typical method and style, and then kind of talk a little bit about that. So yeah, so when you're done with this video, definitely go check hers out. And yeah, without further ado, I'm gonna get started on drawing the thing. So I'm starting off with the line sketch as I usually do, and I'm using cold pressed paper. I chose this paper because it has some texture to it, and the hedgehog itself is pretty textural, so that combination should work well. I have to apologize in advance too, because the lighting in this first part of the video is really overexposed, so it's going to get a bit difficult to see, but it gets better shortly, I promise. So I'm adding the first layers of color using my schminky watercolors and a Da Vinci synthetic brush. I'm starting pretty light as usual because, as you may have heard me mention in previous videos, building up the values gradually really helps me to keep the darks and lights in proportion. So I'm really just looking at the big shapes at this point and trying to block things in. Since my style is somewhat realistic, having darks and lights that make sense isn't only an aesthetic choice, but it really helps to give the subject dimensionality and a sense of weight. This gradual building of layers of color and values has become more or less my standard method, regardless of subject or media. I would say that I started painting this way out of a combination of natural affinity and technical challenges. For me, it makes sense because I like the look it creates, and it's a way to stay focused on the subject. I can naturally be a somewhat impatient person, and there's a big part of me that just wants to get really dramatic really quickly with value and color and just lay down that exact right color on the first attempt. Sadly, I have not reached that level of expertise with color yet, so it's hard for me to see how a color will look and feel until it's next to the colors around it. So a gradual progression and media that allow me to blend the color on the paper or canvas really works well for me. Yet another reason I love using mixed media. Here I'm adding in a little bit more form with some Copic markers and doing the eyes with a Zig Mankaka marker. I think that's how you say it. I'm using a marker on the eyes because I want them to be really inky and shiny, and it'll be easier to add light colored pencil on top of ink than it would be on top of black colored pencil. Now that I've got the basic form and values laid down, I'm moving on to colored pencil. I'm focusing on the face first because that's where I'm planning to develop the most detail and get the most realistic. The value changes between dark and light are also much more subtle here, so I want to get those down first so that they're right. As I've mentioned in other videos, I tend to have a very textural hand naturally. This little area around the nose and mouth is pretty delicate, and I want it to look soft and fuzzy, so I'm trying hard to keep my marks under control. Spreading out towards his cheeks and underbelly, the little hairs are much more defined, so I'm trying to use my marks to describe those individual strands of fur. Now I'm using a little bit of gamsol with a filbert brush to blend out the drop shadow a bit. Most shadows don't have a lot of texture in them, so I want it to smooth it out, but I don't want to get too smooth at the same time because the rest of it's going to have quite a bit of texture, so it's kind of a balancing act. And now I'm moving on to gouache to add some opaque areas of lighter color over some of those darker colors that I laid down earlier. Another question I've gotten recently is how I know when the piece is done.
For a simple composition like this, I really don't have an end goal in mind when I start. I know the steps that I'll go through, and I'm constantly evaluating the whole time how things are progressing and trying to decide whether I need to change my approach or keep going the way that I've been going. But beyond that, once I've gotten 90% of the way there, I'll step back and take a good look and add those final details, and I'll either have a sense that it's done or I'll notice something egregious that needs to be fixed, in which case I'll fix it. We're getting close to the end here, so I can see that I need to define the dark values a little bit more, so I'm going back in with colored pencils. It's always possible to keep working past this point and to find more and more things to change and to tweak, but especially since my style is more realistic, I don't want to get caught up in that too much. I like having sections of the illustration that are looser and feel less done, because to me it keeps my work from feeling too stuffy. So I'm going to add a few more highlights with my Sharpie paint pen and then call it a day.
So that's it. That is my approach for drawing this little hedgehog guy. I hope you guys liked the video and liked seeing the process and learned a little something about style along the way. As I mentioned, Valerie from Art a la Carte is doing her own video with the same reference photo, the same subject, and approaching it in her unique style. So I definitely encourage you guys to go and check that out and leave her some nice comments and like the video and subscribe and all that good stuff. I'm going to have a link up again on the screen and then another one in the description box below. Yeah, so thanks again for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you next time. Bye!